Hi everyone, welcome to our virtual conference. I am Rachel, the online community manager for the Gypsy Nurse. This is one of the last few sessions that we have this week. We have yoga today at 2 p.m. with the amazing Stacey Reynolds and a happy hour tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've had a lot of great sessions and a lot of wonderful people this week. If you've missed any of those, you can find them on the Gypsy Nurse virtual page, which is this page, on our Facebook fan page, or in the article section of thegypsynurse.com. We would like to thank Travel Nurse Across America for sponsoring this conference all week long. Be sure to check out their agency profile and their jobs on thegypsynurse.com. For this session, we have Gypsy Nurse mentors Megan and Ty. They will be joining us to discuss van life as travel nurses. I know many of us have been warned that living in a van down by the river is a bad thing, but this van life has kind of been taking everyone by storm. Everyone's interested. Everyone, even if they can't live in it, everyone likes to at least look at the pictures and, curious about this life. So Megan and Ty will be happy to discuss all of that. They are a travel nurse couple from Charleston, South Carolina. They pursued this van life and moved into their self-converted camper van this past January, and it's been one of their greatest adventures. And since van life requires very minimal items, you can't take very much, we will be giving away a mini fridge. It's about like maybe this big. You can fit about like 6 cans in there, but we're gonna give that away to go along with you in the car or the van or wherever you want to take it. To be entered to win, you'll just need to comment or ask questions, and you'll get an extra entry if you share it on Facebook as well. So be sure to ask all these questions. So I'm going to bring up Megan and Ty so they can talk about their wonderful van life. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Morning. I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Good. Well, I'm going to drop off so you guys can get started.
All right. So we'll start with just a little bit about us. You want to go ahead?
Sure.
Okay.
We have been doing the van life thing with travel nursing for about 6 months?
We moved in January.
Yeah, 6 months now. Before doing the travel nursing with the van and living in our van, we did the usual thing where we would look for an apartment or Airbnb or whatever to rent for the duration of the contract. And we wasted a lot of money on rent because we were never home. We're always outdoors and stuff, and so this has really been a money saver for us. But yeah, well, we're just going to talk a little bit about how we got into it and all that good stuff. So
a little bit about our van. We bought it last September. It's a 2019 Dodge Ram ProMaster. So we bought it and it was completely bare bones. And then we spent about 3 to 4-ish months building it out. And we were actually still working 3 of those months. So basically we would work 12-hour shifts, and then every day off it was researching, trying to it was long days, trying to figure out just planning for it, and going and getting materials and ordering different things that we would need. So it was a long process, but it was definitely worth it. So we finished in December with the build, and then we moved in January.
Yes.
And so I think some of the coolest things about van life to us while travel nursing specifically, like he said, the biggest factor for us was that we felt like we were always having to look for places to rent while we were on assignment, and we were never at home. So we were just there to sleep on basically the nights before we would work. So that was our biggest thing, was that we wanted to be able to have a place that we felt like we were, putting our money somewhere that it was being used. We also are able to make the most of our days off. We're not having to worry about rushing back home to get ready for work the next day, because we've got everything we need with us at all times. You don't have to pack for trips, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then the best part, when you're driving to your next assignment, you don't have to worry about finding hotels or places to stay along the way, or
like mapping it out, because I know we used to map it out. Like, all right, we're gonna plan on driving this many hours, so we'll be here let's find a place to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if anyone who's been traveling long enough, you'll probably say the same thing, like finding a place to stay, finding a place to live that's short-term lease, and especially if you have like pets or whatever, that, little things like that make it even harder to find these places to live. And I always thought it was the most stressful part of travel nursing was finding that spot to live. So this has eliminated all that stress, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so just to kind of start off, we're going to show you guys a couple pictures just in case you're not exactly familiar with van life. So we'll show you a couple pictures of when we started and then how the van looks now. So this was the first day that we bought the van. This is how it looked.
Bare bones.
Yeah, very bare. This was when we had started the build. We've got our insulation on there and our subflooring.
And that big metal wall out.
Yeah. These were just some more pictures of the build. We put some, it was vinyl flooring down, and we've got our bed frame there. Still finishing the build. And then this is after. This was in Sedona. We did our first assignment in the van in Arizona. And then this is how we cook. We have a cooktop that we're able to pull out whenever we need to cook meals. And this was in Joshua Tree, I believe. But yeah, you can cook anywhere, which is amazing. And then this is the finished product. We do have a sink, we have a toilet, a refrigerator, basically everything that you'd have in the comforts of a house except for a shower. All right. So we're just going to kind of go into some of our frequently asked questions. A lot of people are always curious about like a certain couple of things. The main one is where we shower.
So Planet Fitness is usually, that's what we did at first. That's what a lot of van lifers do, is just get a what is it, a Black Card membership?
Mm-hmm.
Black Card membership at Planet Fitness that gets you and your guest in. And it's funny because we hike all the time. We don't like work out and stuff like that. So
we've never actually worked out at Planet Fitness. We just
I'm
go
sure
to
we
the
look like
shower.
weirdos. We walk in and 15 minutes later walk out. But yeah, that was the go-to before this whole COVID thing hit. Unfortunately, we came into a little bit of an issue while we were in Phoenix, Arizona, when it really started hitting hard and they started doing the shutdowns. They closed down the Planet Fitnesses. So we were like, oh man, what are we gonna do? Luckily, the hospital did open up the OR showers for employees to use. So we utilized that at that point. But we had a backup plan kind of in place in case that wouldn't have worked out, which was it's like a camping shower that I used to use when I camped out in the wild a lot. It's got like a little solar panel on it about that big. And I think it's like 5 or 6 liters. It might even be 7 liters. It's a big bag, but it comes with a little shower head attachment and uses gravity to let the water out. But yeah, I mean, it worked all right. Thank goodness we didn't have to use that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a solar shower, and a lot of people will use the solar showers with van life if you're off grid for several days and just need, to get cleaned off. But yeah, you can actually just hang a curtain from your windows and then attach the solar shower, and it'll heat up in the day while you're out, and you can use it at night. But Planet Fitness is like the #1 way to shower if you don't have one in your build. And the Black Card membership is $20 a month, and you can shower anywhere in the United States. So it's pretty hard to be in a place where you don't have a Planet Fitness.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's like a Walmart. Yeah. They're everywhere.
The next one is toilet options. Everybody always asks if we have a toilet in our van and how all of that works. We do have a toilet. It's like a little porta potty toilet. It's a cassette toilet. So we are able to use that just like you would any other toilet. It just has the thing where you pull it out and you do have to dump it we dump it about every week. But yeah, it's been great. It feels just like you're sitting on a regular commode.
Yeah.
And then there's other options. There's a ton of options for toilets and vans. Another one that people like to use is a compostable toilet, but that was a lot of, you have to have a little bit more room for that one. And then also just having a way to, you do have to install it. So it's a little bit more permanent. So we wanted something that if we wanted to change things around later in the build, and we just liked the fact that we can take it in and out as we need to. So we do have toilet, we do have shower.
One thing I will say with the cassette toilets and any kind of toilet like that is there's this stuff that people use for the RVs. It helps a lot.
See, the other thing is, where do we park? It kind of depends. I think we've paid for parking one time at a campsite, maybe once or twice at the most. But usually we try and find free parking. Whenever we are not working, we will use free campsites or an app called iOverlander, and we're able to find free campsites in the area. It's usually at a national forest or on BLM land, and we've had really great luck with that. It's rare that we've not been able to find a spot on free land, and if we aren't able to, then we can always stay at a Walmart or a truck stop. We've stayed at a hospital on the night that we've worked if there's plenty of parking.
Just check the Walmarts beforehand because all of them are 24 hours.
Yeah, we've only gotten one knock since we've moved in January. We've only gotten one knock on our door, and it was at a Walmart in Phoenix, but it was after COVID starting, and they were shutting the Walmarts down early. So we would stay there and like at a truck stop right near the hospital on the nights that we would work, or before we would work the next day. And we did get a knock on our door after we had already gone to bed. So they were very nice. They just asked us to, let us know that they were shutting down early and asked if we could, find another spot. So
a lot of people don't know the is it Bass Pro Shops? Cabela's. A lot of those you can actually park overnight in the parking lot there. They actually have like a separate area set aside, and the ones we've been to, there's always like an RV or a lot of times more than one RV and people staying. So I enjoy the Cabela's.
He likes going in the morning. So yeah, the other thing I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for free campsites, the two best resources are iOverlander and then freecampsites.com. You can read reviews. You can see if there's cell service. I like having cell service just in case of an emergency. But yeah, you can read all sorts of reviews if there are a lot of people around. If the campsite was nice, it'll kind of let you know like exactly what there is there. But they're all free, and if there is a fee, it'll let you know too. As far as sleeping, like when we're parking in places that are a little bit noisy or could be like busier, like when we stay at the truck stop, we do have blackout curtains that we put in the back of the van. And then we have the insulated window covers that go in the front. So that blocks out any sort of light. And then we have a fan in the top that circulates air, and it also kind of serves as a noise machine. So if we're sleeping in that, even in a pretty busy place, it's hard to hear any noise. And then, it's worked pretty good for us.
Yeah. Electricity. All right. So the setup we went with is 3 100-watt solar panels from Renogy. I think it came originally it was 4 panels that came with it. With what we wanted, we only had to utilize 3 of the panels. So we have it set up on top of the roof, just in a row. It came with the solar charger and the what else did it come with?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. We did have to get separate attachments since we were doing 3 panels in a row. And yeah, basically it was just one hole in the roof and ran the wiring, and it's pretty cool little solar charger. It's a smiley face when you have enough power and a sad face when you're running out. We've only ran out of power once, I believe.
Yeah, we didn't even run out. It was more just kind of a warning that you need to be careful. It was several really, really cloudy days. So that's the only thing with the solar. But if for some reason that does get low, we also have 2 large batteries that are charged by our alternators. So whenever we're driving, it charges our battery bank too. And then if we needed it, we have shore power on the outside, so we could always plug in at a campground or something if that was absolutely necessary. But usually, as long as you can find sun or you're able to drive, you'll have power.
Mm-hmm. We're cooking.
Yeah, cooking is the other thing. A lot of people wonder, like, how do you cook? Are you able to cook the same things that you would in a house? And yeah, we actually cook more living in the van. One of my favorite things about it is you always have your kitchen with you wherever you go. So before, like we might have gotten off work and been like, let's pick up something on the way home. We just don't feel like, cooking, or we don't have any food at home. We never really have an excuse anymore because we can come out to the van and we've already got food in our fridge. So we've actually saved a lot more money with cooking and like going to coffee shops and things like that because we've always got our stuff with us. So to cook, instead of building a stovetop in our van, we wanted to save more of the the countertop space. So we opted to go with a portable, it's a 2-burner stove that's run off of propane. So we can pull it out whenever we want to cook, whenever we need it, which is great because it's not just taking up space, but it's easy to set up. It works much faster than any stovetop I've ever had in any apartment or house. And yeah, we also have a fridge and a freezer, so we can fit all of our groceries, anything that we need in that. It's a 12 volt, so it doesn't take up a lot of our energy. So yeah,
and it fits a lot more than it looks like, because when it first came in, I was like, oh, great, we can fit a carton of milk in there. Awesome. But when we got to packing stuff in there, I was absolutely amazed at how much stuff you could actually fit in there.
Yeah. We usually go grocery shopping maybe once a week.
Once a week, yeah.
And it fits an entire week's worth of groceries. And yeah, we usually we'll still meal prep just like we would for work. We can put anything we need in the fridge, and it works out well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty much it's the same as cooking in an apartment, except we set up our stove whenever we need to use it. The next one is laundry. For our laundry, we just go to a laundromat. We do it once a week for laundry. Sometimes more, sometimes less. It just depends on what we need, but usually about once a week, especially when we're working and we need to wash our scrubs. But it's nice. At first we were kind of laundromat, but it's been really nice because while your stuff's washing, you're parked right outside. So it's always been a good time for us to clean, get everything kind of ready for the week and a fresh start. So the laundromat's kind of our chore day, get stuff done, and it works out good.
Yep.
The other thing that people always ask us is how we handle being in a small space together. There's a lot of people that live with their partners or their friends in vans, and the answer is we're not really in a small space together a lot. We're together a lot, but we're not really in the van 24/7. And when we are in the van or we're parked somewhere, usually we have our doors open and we're outside around it. So people think like, oh man, like you must be stuck in there all the time. Like, how do you not go crazy? And actually, when you're like, I don't know, we like it because we're actually outside a lot more than when we were in a house.
Hmm. Yeah. When we are in the van, like getting ready and stuff, we call it the shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've got a little mirror, and she'll be, brushing her hair, putting makeup on, and I'm trying to brush my teeth, and we'll just kind of nudge each other, and we know that means it's time to do the shuffle. Just
You
kind of switch
switch.
places.
But yeah, I mean, really, like in the mornings when we're getting ready, and then at night when we're getting ready for bed, that's like the only time that we're in the van, like with the doors closed, and we're really confined to that space, and it's fine. Like, at first it might feel a little bit like odd because you're not used to being in such a tiny space with another person, but it's worked out. It's fine, and like I said, we're usually not just locked in there all the time. So yeah, it's not bad. For internet, we have a jetpack from Verizon, and we're able to get internet pretty much anywhere that we have cell service. I know there's a lot of people that do like remote work, and they have to have internet. So we like our jetpack. It works really well for us. I think it's what, like $20 extra a month,
I think so. Yeah.
something like that.
Okay. Is that the 4G?
Mhm.
Yeah. The 4G. We had, I think it was 3G before that, hotspot, and we ran out of data pretty quickly, burning through that. So we got the 4G, and I don't think we've run out of data on that one yet monthly.
Mhm.
And it's pretty fast. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it works well. You can, stream Netflix or do whatever you need to do. But
The
yeah,
important stuff.
yeah, the
works.
important stuff. No, but yeah, if you're interested and you're wondering like, am I able to work remotely or am I able to have internet? The answer is yes. But yeah, we have Verizon, and there's a lot of other options for that too. There's a lot of different companies that offer portable internet now. Let's see. Another question we get a lot is, how do you like pack all your stuff and fit everything into there?
So this is still ongoing. We're still learning and kind of testing some things out, but we learned pretty quickly that taking big Rubbermaid containers with all your stuff in it wasn't going to work out. What we ended up getting were these packing cubes that have been super, super helpful. It's for our clothes. You can pack a lot of stuff into one little cube. They come in different sizes, but it kind of compresses everything and puts it, in a manageable space so we can kind of fit everything. That's for clothing. And then for like food stuff, cooking utensils, containers for food, we use a lot of collapsible stuff, and that saves a bunch of space. And those also come in different sizes. And even like cooking utensils like colanders, strainers, stuff like that. They have collapsible strainers. They have collapsible everything. So yeah, that really saves a lot of space. And in a van, we found out pretty quickly that every inch matters in a van. It's nuts how much space you take for granted,
Yeah.
But what else?
Yeah, so all of our clothes we keep under the bed. There's different if you start looking into vans, there's different layouts you can do. Some people have a fixed bed, which is what we have. And it's just that our bed, we don't take it down, it's there. Some other options that other people do is you can have a bed that you can convert into like a tabletop during the day. Yeah, there's a lot of different like ways that you can build a bed, but ours is fixed, so it's in the back, and we did that because we wanted to have as much storage space as possible in the back for like larger items or our clothes. So I mean, we can fit. We actually have extra space back there now if we needed to add anything, because it's just our bed sits a little bit higher and then it goes back a little deeper. So plenty of storage under
We've got
there.
tar back there. I think we put a surfboard back there at one point
Mhm.
with all our stuff. So I mean, there's a good bit of space.
Yeah.
I will say with the clothing too, one thing that we realized was we can't take everything for every season
Mhm.
with us at all times. We kind of did a little research on, where we were going at that time, what the weather was like that time of the season, and packed accordingly with what we found. And then we just leave the clothes that we're not going to take, at our parents' house, stored away or whatever. So yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I mean, and realistically, like you're gonna wear scrubs 3 days out of the week if you're a travel nurse, and the other couple days, I mean, we do like our primary activities like hiking and just like doing stuff outside. So you tend to wear the same thing over and over, and we really just pack like mostly outdoor clothes. You look at like what you're gonna wear the most, but yeah, you kind of learn like if you haven't used it in the last month, you're probably not going to use it, in like every day. But everything that we use at least once a week or, once every couple of weeks. So there's really not a lot of room for things to just like sit around when you have such a small space. So
Mhm.
just kind of trial and error. And like, I'd say like my best advice is just like think about what you use often as far as packing. Like, am I actually going to use this, or has it just been sitting at my house for the last like year? So just be mindful of that.
It's kind of like backpacking for you hikers out there. It's pack your bag 3 times. Every time you pack it, take more stuff out, see what you really need and what you don't need.
Yeah. I think every time we come home, we drop off more stuff because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we actually
You don't
didn't
need that.
need that, and we don't hardly have anything. But it's like, yeah, we actually don't use stuff as much as we thought we would. So the other thing is mistakes that we've learned, or like just things to be mindful of that are different in a van versus living in a house. I think one of our biggest mistakes, and one of the one of the things that we've done twice now, is you do have to dump your dirty water for your sink and your toilet. You don't have plumbing, so it's just going to sit until you dump it yourself. The first week that we moved into the van, we had just gotten to Arizona, and we noticed that there was water piled up in the back, and our dirty water from our sink had actually started to overflow. We didn't realize, like, I guess we weren't really like aware of
How quickly it fills up.
yeah, how quickly it fills up and how much we actually had in there. So that is one thing that you have to be mindful of, that it's your responsibility to dump that, and you can't forget about it. It wasn't something we were used to at first, so we had to really
We learned.
yeah, we did. So had to take everything out and clean it and like
Really clean it.
sterilize it and wash it down. So that's one thing that's different from being in a regular house. Another thing is to make sure you remember where you put your produce so that doesn't
Yeah,
start to smell. That was my fault.
we learned that recently.
We did. You kind of have to, like, when you buy your groceries, like figuring out, like remembering where you put them. I accidentally put some peppers in the back, and instead of where I would usually keep them in the front. And we started smelling something.
Over the course of a week, I think it was. I kept saying, "What is that smell? Do you smell that?" And you thought it was our dirty clothes. It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
So just you do, everything does have a place in the van, and you kind of have to stick to that place, or yeah, you run into finding rotten peppers a week later.
Peppers. God knows how old they were.
Okay, moving on. The next thing is to, whenever you drive, everything has to be taken down. The same goes like if you live in an RV or anything, any type of home that moves. There have been a couple occasions where we'll like be somewhere for the day and we'll have stuff on the countertops, and then we get into drive and you hear a loud crash.
Smash.
Yeah, we still do this. Like, we're still guilty of this after even being in there for like 7 months now. But everything does have to be taken down and secured before you start driving. So,
And as far as securing stuff, like she said, like anything you have on your walls, we've got a mirror, we've got it tacked down, nailed down. Um, Anything you use to decorate has to be nailed down, or it's going to be swinging around and can ultimately become a
Weapon.
flying projectile.
Yeah.
And then for storage and our cabinets and stuff, we went with these little, it's like childproof locks that I guess you put on the cabinets for to keep the children out of whatever they like to get into. But they work really well for just keeping the cabinets closed while we're driving, as long as people remember to lock them.
I'm notorious for not locking the childproof locks.
That's another noise.
So then your cabinets fly open and things fly out.
Driving and clank, clank. Someone forgot to lock it again.
But when they're used, they're very, very useful.
They are.
Yeah. So childproof locks are awesome. What else? Oh, the other different thing, you cannot go through most drive-throughs depending on how tall your van is and if you have solar panels. So with our solar panels, and then we also have the high roof version because Ty is 6'2". So we aren't able to fit through most drive-throughs. I think we're like right at 10 feet maybe with everything.
Yeah, I think it's a little over 10 feet.
Yeah. So with the when the pandemic hit, that was when we run into the most problem because you're not able to like pick up coffee through the drive-through or go through any type of drive-through for that. So I walked through the drive-through because I needed my coffee because you couldn't go inside. So desperate times call for desperate measures. But yeah, that is one thing to be mindful of, is that you're not just able to drive through. You will scrape your solar panels and possibly damage them if you try to go through a drive-through or anything that's low clearance. Parking garages is another thing. At the hospital that we're working at now is the first one where they actually have majority parking garages, but we're working night shifts, so we're able to park in a parking lot that's closer to the hospital, luckily. So that is one thing to just, if you're travel nursing and you do need a parking garage for work, just be sure to look into other options.
Yeah, because that would be really bad. If you don't know 100% if you're going to fit, just don't risk it. It's a lot of hardware to come flying off.
Any other things special to vans versus homes or?
You really have to going down Forest Service roads and stuff like that. She likes to think it's an off-road vehicle sometimes, but you really gotta go slow because you got a lot of weight in there, and they're top heavy, and that's one thing that we sometimes have to remember, especially going around the tight corners and stuff. Is we got a lot of weight in there, and it'll flip over pretty easily. So that's one thing that's pretty important.
I will say though that the ProMaster, there's a lot of different options out there for vans. We chose the ProMaster because driving it's very, very easy to drive. I went from driving a Honda Civic. I actually traded that in for the van, and I was nervous going from a small car to driving this, and it's actually really easy. It does handle well if we do go off-road. We're not going crazy off-road, but we do take it down for service roads whenever we're going to camp. And it handles really well. We're able to get to more places than some other vans that we've seen with the ProMaster. So
it's front wheel drive, which I think is not all the vans have that feature. So it makes it a little bit easier to handle and drive.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, it can fit into any regular parking space. That's another nice thing about having the van. And that's one of the main reasons we chose that over doing an RV or something of that type, is you can really take it anywhere. You can park it in the city in a parking space that a regular car is in. You can, drive it down long dirt roads and it's fine. So it's really nice because it can kind of go anywhere. There are limitations, but it's not as many as some other homes on wheels. So so that's one thing we really like about it too. Another thing, mail, how we get mail. So usually we will just get a PO box wherever we're working because we're there for 3 months at a time. So typically we can just get a PO box. We'll do like the 6 month one and then cancel it as soon as we leave. Um, they'll let us. The postal service will let you cancel it 3 months early. We just tell them we're travel nurses, and then we can have our mail sent there. And then we also have like a primary address in Charleston, and that's where most of our mail is sent. Otherwise, you can also do if you're traveling Amazon. They have Amazon lockers, so if we need something like on a whim that we need from Amazon, then you can always send it to an Amazon locker.
A lot of places do the Amazon locker, so that's been helpful.
Another thing is do we have AC in the van and how do we stay cool? This has actually not been a problem until just recently. We're working night shift for like the first time since we've had the van. We usually do days, but we ended up doing night shift for this assignment that we're on now, and we're in Kentucky, and it is very, very humid and very, very hot during the day. At night, we've been fine in the van because it does cool off at night. So if you're sleeping somewhere at night, it's usually okay. But like if you're having to be in the van during the day for extended periods of time, it does get pretty toasty.
Yeah. Like she mentioned earlier, we have the sunshades that are insulated. That keeps the cool in pretty well. But all we have is the max fan on top, which can only do so much, especially when it's like 100 and something degrees out. So we've had to adapt. We've bought a couple of little tiny fans to use when we have to be in there and it's super hot. And after doing a bunch of research, there's not really an option, as far as like an easy way to do it with AC, like especially in the humid climates. They have RV ACs that you can put on top, but those tend to be a little pricey.
And you have to get just the installation is pretty. It's just one more thing to add on, especially if you've already built. But yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll crank the van's AC up front for a few minutes and get a nice temperature going in there. And like I said, the insulated window shields actually really work to keep the cool air in. But yeah, we'll just run it idle for a few minutes, let it get nice and cool, and then the fans do the rest. Our little tiny fans we got. So it's been all right. We've worked through it.
Yeah, and so most people don't have AC in the vans. Like the biggest thing is you follow the weather, and that's what we were going to do. The pandemic, there wasn't as many jobs and locations that we would have chose that were optimal for van life. So we were just kind of working with what we got this time. But usually you're able to kind of follow the weather, and that's what most people that do van life do. They'll just stay in cooler climates during the summer months, and it works pretty well. And you also, a lot of times, you're not like in there all day. Like I said, if you have to work or something, you could always go to a coffee shop to get work done, or somewhere like it's a public place if it's hot during the day. So
there's a nice breeze outside. She got a mosquito net for our sliding door. So if there's a nice little breeze outside, we'll just open the sliding door, and that works out pretty well.
Oh, and we have questions. Let's see. I just saw the questions. Sorry, guys. Okay, so where do we park? We covered that. We park pretty much anywhere that's free. We use the iOverlander and freecampsites.net. Where do you park for sleeping? Usually RV parks. No, we don't like RV parks just because they're usually pretty expensive, and we don't like being like right up on top of someone. We will just, like I said, if we're working, we'll pull into a spot like we'll do like a truck stop or the hospital, just depending on where we're at. And then
Just for the nights we work.
yeah, just on the nights we work, and then otherwise we stay on free land in national forest or BLM land. Did we build it ourselves? Yes, we talked about that. Over the course of about 3 to 4 months, we built it. Just a ton of research, ton of
Trial and error.
videos, lots of trial and error. But yeah, I think if anything, we wish we probably would have had like a more solid plan. This was an idea that we just kind of were like, I kind of became obsessed with, and I like broke down the costs and everything for Ty, and was like, this could save us a lot of money. We would like, it would just kind of, I don't know, it would just help us to like optimize travel nursing. And so once we became obsessed with it, then I found the van. Another question is, where did you find the van? We actually found it at a dealership in North Carolina. We were working in North Carolina at the time, and there was a dealership that had one that we wanted, and it was a high roof, and we test drove it, and we ended up getting it in the next couple of weeks. So we wanted something that was relatively new. So we got this one that only had about 19,000 miles on it. We were just a little skeptical if it's something we're going to be living in and building out long term. We wanted something with as low mileage as we could find, so that we would be able to use it for as long as we could. So yeah, we did a lot of research, and they had the Carfax, so we were able to see everything about the vehicle. Do we shower at the hospital? On occasion, like Ty said, we did in Arizona.
That was the only hospital we've been to thus far that offered that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you couldn't ask, your manager or administration if that would. I don't see why that would be a problem, but yeah, they just offered it, so we took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, usually, like we said, Planet Fitness is kind of the like that's usually like every van dweller's go-to, because it's so cheap and you can find them anywhere, and they are really nice. If you've never been to a Planet Fitness shower, check it out next time you're in there. They're usually really nice, and they always have hot water and are pretty clean. So we've had good experiences with it.
So does it get a little crowded for you in the van, or do you guys stay out exploring most of the time? Yeah, exploring most of the time. Yep.
And then how much do you think you've saved doing this? A good bit of money.
Yeah.
So I'm trying, I don't know like an exact number, but I know that when we were renting apartments, we would pay
anywhere from $1,200
to $1,300 a month. We did assignments without the van for about a year, and that was like the average cost was like $1,200 to $1,300 wherever we would go. So that compared our van payment, as we did like a payment plan. So we pay about it's $4 something a month. So there's that. We did have
with insurance. Insurance
is like $90 a month. So that's like our actual van cost. As far as gas, the van gets really good gas mileage. Ty actually has a Toyota FJ Cruiser, and it gets better gas mileage than his vehicle.
Yes, it does.
So
amazing. Even with all the stuff in the back, it's
it works out
really
well.
Surprising.
But yeah, and then we did have the cost of the conversion, and I saw Andrea asked, is it cheaper to convert a van or just buy one already made? Converting it is a lot cheaper than doing it. We did ours for about, I'd say like $3,500 to $4,000.
Yeah.
Like that's with everything combined. And also, we thought about too, we added up, that was rent from last year. So if you kind of put it in that perspective and like think about if it's going to be a lifestyle that's good for you, you will end up like saving money in the long run. So the van build, you can do it for as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. We've seen them from anywhere from like $2,000 to like crazy amounts of like people putting in like $40,000. But this was our first van build. We'll probably do another one or something else like down the road. But we're excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we just wanted it to be simple and kind of like figure out exactly what we wanted. And you can always add stuff in down the road. Just you can start simple. But yeah, we put I'd say $3,500 to $4,000 in the initial build. And then like I mentioned earlier with cooking, we save a lot of money because we're not spending a lot of money eating out. We always have our kitchen with us. So and then also traveling like from different places. You don't ever have to worry about getting a hotel if you want to go 2 hours north of your assignment and stay there for a couple days. You don't have to worry about getting an Airbnb or spending money on that.
Yeah, it really and truly does end up saving a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before we started, I wrote down all the costs that we had then, and then like kind of even with the build, and then just kind of compared the two. So that's always a good idea too. Just look at, is it actually going to be beneficial to you based on how much you're already spending each month. So we do have a car. Do you also have a car, and how do you get from the van to the hospital? So we drive our van to the hospital. In Phoenix, we actually took 2 cars. We took the van and then we took Ty's vehicle too, just because being so far, we're our home base is in South Carolina. So being so far away from home, if in case there was an emergency or something happened with the van or we needed 2 vehicles, we just wanted to have a backup. Yeah, so we actually stored his in a storage unit, and we maybe got it out just like a handful of times. So right now we're in Kentucky. We're only about like 6 or 7 hours away from home. So we left his vehicle and we only have the van in Kentucky. We usually we try and get the same shifts when we're working, so we don't have to worry about like with only having one car. It's a lot easier to do to be able to get the same shifts. So we just talk to the manager when we start, and they're usually pretty great about working with you. They usually understand that if you're traveling with someone that you're going to usually want the same days off. So everybody's usually pretty great about that. So do you pull your car behind the van? When we did take Ty's vehicle, we would have to drive. I would drive the van, and then he would drive his car.
We don't have a tow set up on the back of the van. I think you can get them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that probably would be an option.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely capable of pulling it, but yeah, we just don't have the setup.
I've seen the exact same van that we have, the ProMaster, actually towing cars. I saw one pulling a truck one time. So it's definitely possible to do. But yeah, we've just driven just because we don't have the tow for the back. So and then are you wanting more space like an RV, or are you going to keep going with the van? So we love the van. I think like I said, the biggest thing with an RV is just I guess we also like that ours is custom. Like you can kind of put what you want in it versus an RV, and then we're able to kind of like go more places. We've seen a lot of RVs that have been stopped, and we'll be able to like keep going down the road. If it's a campsite that we want to get to, we're just able to get to more places than we would in an RV. And you can also park, like if we had an RV, we probably wouldn't be able to camp at some of the places that we camp in the city. A van doesn't look as like conspicuous as like, hey, I'm sleeping here for the night. So it's given us more opportunities for like free campsites and free places to sleep at night too. So we really like that about doing the van. And I do think we've talked about like maybe eventually we really like the buses. So maybe like eventually if we decided to like have kids or get dogs, we have looked into maybe converting a school bus or something like that, like down the road. But for now, we're really happy with our van, and yeah, we've loved it so far. It's been really great. So
simple life is a good life.
Yeah, it's definitely taught us like even more so. Like we thought we were pretty minimal before, but like after this experience, like I said, every time we go home, we're getting rid of more stuff, and it's just kind of taught you to appreciate experiences more than things. So it's been awesome. Can you think of anything else?
Let's see, are you wishing for more? Did we just answer that one?
I think we covered all the questions.
Cool.
let's see if I'm just going to check and make sure that we answered everything.
Water fill up.
Water fill up. Yeah, you do have to fill up your water.
So yeah, we went with the marine foot pump. We didn't do an electric water pump, and it's worked out pretty well. It's pretty simple. It's a simple setup, so you don't have to worry about parts breaking and stuff like that. But we have a 7-gallon freshwater tank and then a 7-gallon gray water tank. And we usually have to fill up the fresh water once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's after, brushing teeth, washing hands, washing dishes, doing whatever. So, 7 gallons can go a long way.
Yep. And I think that's, if nobody has any more questions, if you rewatch this later and you do have any questions for us about van life or travel nursing or like really anything at all, we're always happy to answer questions. But we're We the Wanderers on Instagram, and you can always send us a message on there and we'll respond to you. But we'll bring Rachel back.
That was great, guys. Thank you for giving all that information. I'm going to announce the winner. So let me generate this. So it is Christina. You won the little mini fridge. So just message the fan page and we'll get it shipped out to you. Thank you again, Megan and Ty, for coming on and giving us a little glimpse. I know it's probably a really big picture, giving us a little glimpse of your van life. I'm sure it's like way bigger than all of us can imagine. A lot of work, and it was fun watching you guys build it up on Instagram. So, and I did put their Instagram in the comments. So if you want to follow along or ask them questions, you can go there. If you're watching this later, like they said, you can put comments in here and I'll forward it to them and let them know that you have other questions too. But thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.